Hello and welcome back to Stu Structures. I'm finally back again with another episode of Building the Freight House, and this is episode 13 in the series, so stay tuned. So welcome back. I am Mark Stewart and this is Stu Structures, and we're here for video 13 in the series of Building the Freight House. Like I said, finally got a little bit of a rain day, so I'm going to take a time and try to get some of this work done on this building and maybe get a video out in the next week or so. I'm still trying to finish moving, and with all the jobs and the heat and having to spend tons of times watering now because of the lack of rain. Thank God for the rain today. Anyway, it's still got me tied up for another month or so, so I'm going to get these out as quick as I can. But since I have some rain time this morning, I'm going to take a little bit of a downtime to work on this structure. So let's just get into it and see what we can get accomplished. The first thing I want to touch on here is just putting these kick plates alongside of all the doors. You saw me make them in the last episode, and here's one side of them, and you can see when they're glued in place, they brighten up the whole doorway area. I think I'm going to tone them down a little bit with some washes later on, but right now I just want to get all of them mounted and on the building, and one less thing on my workbench. Now we're going to start building these walkways in this episode that come down from the pedestrian bridge down to the doorway in the second story end of the building. And you can see there are these 4 different upright supports, a set of stairs between 2 different landings. So right now we're going to go ahead and just start taking some wood and making all these upright supports. So I went through all my balsa wood and found this piece here that should work for what I want to make all these parts out of. And I come back and looking and judging the height of them by the pictures and stuff, I just cut all these to length and get everything ready to go. And once I get those glued into place, then I come back and cut all the plates that will do all the joints in all those beams. And then I start gluing those on. I glue one side and let that set up. Then I come back and trim the edges because some of the plates are just a little big for what they are. And after I get the second side glued on, I come back and just paint everything black, as well as the 4 supports that go underneath the landings. Now the next thing are the eaves on this second story building. You can see they have facial boards that sit out on the edge of the roofs, and then there's support boards that go from there back to the wall along all the sides of this roof. So I'm just going to come back and measure these about 2 foot on center all the way around all the edges of this building, so I know where to put the glue the pieces onto that I'm going to use to do this with. And once I get all those marked, I go through my styrene box, and I came up with a couple of different sizes. The one size I'm going to use to do the support members under the roof, and then there's another board here that I'm going to use for facial board. And here's what it looks like. I just laid them in place and cut them to length, and I came back and glued them on, and then they came back and glued the facial board on the face of that. And I'm just going to continue around with all 4 sides. Now on the 2 long down sides, I'm going to have to put a gutter on these. So once the facial board is on there, I went through my styrene and found another piece of angle, and I'm just going to glue that to the underside of that facial board to create a U-channel, or basically a place with downspouts to connect into to catch the rainwater on that side. Now the next thing we're going to work on are these support arms that reach up and support the overhangs on the walkways on either side of the building. And you can see that there's a board that sits flat against the building, and then the arms come up from that. So, looking at those brick ledges, I went ahead and cut the width of the boards I'm going to need for the uprights that mount onto the wall above those brick ledges. Then I cut them to height, and I come back and paint all of them black and pre-paint them so they're not such a hard thing to paint once I glue them onto the building. And then, I go ahead and glue those on above all those little brick ledges.
And now I'm going to come back and just add, the glass inside all the first story windows, since all those are in place. And I just cut these oversized and put them in there. And then I come back once all that's done. I don't have to work inside the building anymore and get these other two roof support ridge pieces on there as well. And I showed this in an earlier building, but when I cut that blackout baffle for the second floor, I had also made this one for the first floor. So now that all that's done inside, I can go ahead and mount this baffle in there as well. And here's just a quick shot of on the turntable here of the entire building as it sits at this point. You can see all the detail is starting to come together in the sides of the buildings. The roof and the overhangs. I've still got a couple facial boards and stuff to put on, but that's getting to the point where I can almost paint that. And now the boards are on that support the roof structure, so I can put those on.
Okay, so there you have another segment of Stu Structures. This building is really starting to come along really well now. Well, keep the baffle underneath the first floor. I didn't glue it in. I just kind of set them both in there. In any case, it's coming along really well now. I still have the archway pieces to put in the top of each of these small windows. I did get one in there just to experiment and see how it was going to work, and I just used some of that finest square pieces of styrene and just cut them to length and put them in there. There's nothing really to that. I have a little bit of paint touch up. We have all these uprights in place now, so we can start with the awning roof. I still have a little bit of work to do underneath the eaves of this second story building with some facial boards. I did get those angles on for the gutters on both sides, so I got to put plates on the ends of those, and we'll look at the downspouts maybe a little later on. We got all those support systems together now, so we can add on to this end of the building where the walkway comes up from this door and comes up and meets on this bridge on this end of town. And we got all these little wooden pieces that protect the brick from crates and stuff going in and out of the doors. We've got still a lot to do in this building, but man, it's to the point where it really is starting to look like a nice building. I know I say that a lot in a lot of these videos, but it is coming together really well now. I mean, there are places I can see shiny glue, and there's places the paint needs to be touched up. There's a lot of little things like that that you have to go back and spend a lot of time on, just getting everything, right when you get it together. But I'm happy with where it's going. It's going to be a nice looking building, and it's really going to be representative of the building that I'm trying to recreate here in HO scale. So I'm happy with it. And this has been a few weeks putting this one together. When I first started this in my entrance videos, I was going back and watching them, and I was hoping to get together, run real quick for you. And it's taken a couple of weeks now since I put those entry videos together to get this to this point. But we're getting it out. I still have a good month or so in my life struggles before I can get back on track, hopefully with building and doing some things then. Still trying to build a nursery at this end, as well as getting some of the other farm cleaned up and the mess and debris that was left behind from my move there. In between jobs and watering the nursery now, because I've got all these plants here, and it takes a lot of time to keep water on them because there's so many of them. So anyway, these are still going to be coming out slow for at least one more episode, if not two more episodes, and then we can get back on track and get them out in a more timely fashion again. I appreciate you coming and watching my videos and sharing this time with me and sticking with me through these hard times so I can get to the better times and more playing with trains. I have been working a little once in a while as I go by some sites, some other odd videos to throw in from time to time. Hopefully one of those maybe will come out before I get the next one out on this, and we can get another video out on a week where there wouldn't be a video otherwise. So in any case, like I said, thanks for coming back and sharing this time with me. Like and share these videos. You know, there's a lot of people out there that would like to know that this kind of information exists out there, so they can learn and get to the point where they can build some scratch-built structures that they're wanting to build for their model railroads. Like I said before, it's not a hard thing to do. It's just time-consuming and figuring out how you're going to go about each step in building these structures. Subscribe to my channel. There's a little red button below that says subscribe. Push on that and then you'll be subscribed to my channel, and if you hit the little bell icon next to that, then you'll be notified every time a new video comes out in the series of this or any of the other odd things that I throw out there. So do those two things, and you know, we'll be getting a lot more videos out there for you to keep up with, so that'll allow you to do that. You know, and more important than anything, just jump out there and scratch build some stuff, whether it's buildings or cars or, you know, locomotives or whatever. I know people that build locomotives out there because you just can't find locomotive that they're wanting for their model railroad available on the market. There's one in HO scale that, you know, I did start to build years ago. Maybe I'll get back to putting it together because it's only been reproduced once in brass, and they're just very, very expensive when you go to buy them because there was a limited number of them and more people want them than there are locomotives out there. And it is something that would have ran during my time period, and there would have been 4 of them on the railroad because they interchanged here at Grafton on the run with the passenger train that they ran on. So I don't know. You know, like I said, I did start scratch building it years and years ago. Maybe I'll get back to that and work on that at some point in time. But my whole point with all that is that you need to jump out there and just build some stuff. You know, it's not hard. It's time consuming, but you're never going to learn and never be able to do it unless you just jump out there and do it. And that's what this is all about. You know, just do it. In any case, whether you're building structures or running your trains or doing whatever you're doing in the hobby, enjoy it. Spend time with it. It's a good relief from the reality of the real world out there. And, you know, just enjoy your trains, and happy model railroading.